Hello, it's Finance Talk. Today we'll speak about where to find more information about the company and how to know what is going on in it. As a result, you can see the financial situation more clearly and decide whether to invest in the company or not. Stay tuned. First of all, let's talk about the importance of such information and why we need it in our decisions. Company is a complicated system, and from my point of view, it should be analyzed not only by numbers, but also by what is happening around it. All information about competitors, industry, taxes, and laws can be useful in evaluating the company's position on the market. I think there are two types of information about the company. First, it's official information which the company posts itself. And the second one is news, documents, and other stuff from third-party sources. But beforehand, you should know about different criteria which will affect the number of sources you can look through. We can divide all companies into two groups, public and private. It's more difficult to get information about privately owned companies because most of the information is commercial, and in some countries there is no obligation for the company to show it to the public. Today we primarily speak about public companies, so if you want me to make another video about privately owned company analysis, please write down in the comments below. Company official documents include press releases, quarterly and annual reports, webcasts, and other activities of public relations and investment relations departments which they want to show to the public. This type of information is useful for analyzing current financial situations and calculating the intrinsic value of the company today. Usually all this information is available in the investors relations section on the website of the company, but there are other sources where you can look at. Depending on the country and the stock exchange where company stocks are traded, you can go on a different websites. Here is the list of the most popular ones. So as you can see, in the United States we have sec.gov, in the Canada there are sedar.com, but speaking about Europe, you also can go on a sec.gov but use the special tool called Edgar system for searching a particular companies which are traded there. On these websites you can find quarterly and annual filings for free. For other countries it's better to look for information on a particular stock exchange or on the company website. Here is the list of popular stock exchanges. Also, while looking for company information, you should know the name and the stock symbol. For example, Facebook, which is now Meta, can be also called Meta platforms. So when you look for a particular topic, event, or news about the company, websites can use different names, but generally speaking, they talk about the same firm. You should also consider, is the public company a part of a bigger company? It can be minority interest, subsidiary, or wholly owned subsidiary. In the first case, the bigger or parent company owns a little stake in the company, usually below 50%. In the second, from 51 to 99%, and in the third, 100%. For example, Travelscape Inc., a leading merchant of hotel rooms, is a wholly owned subsidiary of Expedia Inc., which is a wholly owned subsidiary of IAC, a publicly owned media conglomerate that owns Engie, Home Advisor, and Daily Beast. So sometimes it is also useful to look through the news of the mother company to know more about the subsidiary and what is going on. It is also important to know whether the company is active or bankrupt. In the second case, you can look for basis of particular bankruptcy courts or Google News to know the status of the company. Speaking about other information, sometimes your stockbroker can provide you with analytical reports and other documents which can be used in the analysis. Interactive Brokers, for example, has such options. You can purchase information subscription service to receive data about stocks, futures, and other securities in real time. And now we will talk about third-party sources where you can get unofficial and sometimes raw data about the company. First of all, we have different news aggregators like Google News or Flipboard, where you can look for headlines from different news websites. You can also set a data period of publications. Sometimes it is useful when you want to understand the history of a particular event. You can also go to Google type an event, and go to the news section. Next we have YouTube. Here you can find different analytical reports, interviews, company news, and other stuff which will help you to decide about your future investment. Stock screeners and finance websites like Yahoo Finance, Finviz.com, etc. are also useful. There are usually a special section with news on a company profile page. There you can also find quarterly and annual filings and consolidated numbers for 5, 10 or 30 years if the company works for a long time. The next tool which might be useful for you is LinkedIn. There you can find different information about the company, its management and employees. With the Pro version, you can find different analytics about how, when and where the company employs new people. So as a result, you can pretty much understand is the company growing or not. The website like Crunchbase can give you information about the investments and the recent acquisitions of the company. And if the company has apps or websites, you can see its monthly visitors here in a special section. Owler.com website can be useful for you if you want to know more about the niche and the competitors of the company. Here you can also find the latest acquisitions and investments made by the company. Now let's take a particular example and analyze the company in the past. I took Mattel company because it was my first stock investment, and I also had an e-commerce business selling toys by my own private label brand. For those of you who don't know, Mattel is an American toy company with more than 75-year history. Now it owns more than 20 brands. Most popular of them are Hot Wheels, Uno, Barbie, American Girl, Fisher-Price and others. Starting from 2016, Mattel's stock price began to fall from more than $33 per share to $7.42 per share in March 2020. Starting from then till now, when I shoot this video in the beginning of February 2022, the stock has gone up by more than 8 times. The current price of Mattel stock is more than $24. So how did this happen and what was going on with the company? I will take and use the same tools I told you previously. So now let's go to Google, type Mattel. Let's go to news. I sort everything by date. Mattel, it is spoken about Barbies, body shapes. Anyway, in 2016, as we can see, Barbie had quite strong sales at that time, but something went wrong. Probably there was something with the revenue. I guess that there was some decline with that. As we can see, starting from 2016 till 2020, revenues declined. So now let's look through the net income. And as we can see, the net income dropped. It was below zero actually. So as we can see, the price of the stock at this particular year started to fall down, and in 2018 Mattel CEO left the company. And the next CEO, as we can see, started to put the company out of the debt. So now let's go to the balance sheet and understand if we were correct or not. So let's see about the assets. So as we can see, assets dropped significantly in 2018 and 19. Speaking about liabilities, we have long-term debt, which was increased by almost 30-40%. So instead of 2 billion, we had more than 2.5 billion in long-term debt. It was done in 2016 actually. They increased the long-term debt from 1.7 billion to 2.1 billion. In 2017, it also increased, so they borrowed more money for that. And only after that, we can see that they slowly went from the dangerous zone to the profitability. They have 148 million in cash on hand. They had something in inventory. They had 1.4 billion in receivables and total assets 2.7 billion. And this is actually more than long-term debt. So if something went wrong, they can easily pay out the debt by the total current assets. From my experience, the toy business is quite cyclical because it has downside in the first quarter after holidays, and in the third quarter the toy industry had increasing in sales, finishing with fourth quarter when parents buy toys for their kids and family. So now let's look through the cash flow statement. Here we have net cash flow, which was negative. So in 2018 they had negative cash, and I suppose that was because they had some obligations. We don't know yet, but we can dig deep inside the news, inside the financial statements of the company, and understand that. But I suppose that they had some long-term liabilities which were increased, and they just didn't have enough cash to pay out their debts, to pay out salaries, etc. Maybe there was something else which we do not know. Let's find out from the news. That is interesting. So this is some struggle with workers and Toy R Us bankruptcy. Well, I guess some of you remember those situations when Toys R Us went bankrupt, and as far as I remember, it was one of the largest retail store network in the country, and they had a lot of shops and offline locations, and maybe Mattel was somehow connected with these stores. So if they sold their toys through this particular retailer and this retailer went bankrupt, of course they had declines in sales. So now the theory looks like they had some sales. After that they had some problems, maybe with sales of particular toys, maybe some disputes, etc. And then Toys R Us went bankrupt. They lost 30 or maybe 40% of their sales. It should be found out. We don't know yet how many stores were there in Toys R Us, and we do not know what percentage of revenues brought this particular channel to the company revenues. After that, the company CEO left the firm, and there was a new CEO who took the position and started to raise the company. So in this case, I think there was a probability that the company could went bankrupt even if it had more than 75-year history. So if we analyze the company website here, we can go to Mattel shop and we can see that there are quite a lot of brands here. Shop all brands. So they actually more than 20, and if we go to the history of the company, maybe 1, 2, or 3 years ago, there were approximately 200 of them. So I assume that some brands were sold and money from those sales went to debt repayment. And now let's theoretically think that if the company has more than 75-year history and actually generations grew up playing those toys, what was the probability and what is the probability of this particular company to go bankrupt? It actually less than 50-40%, because maybe they can refinance their debt, maybe they can get additional investments, etc. Maybe they can sell other brands. So as we can see, starting from 2020 to 2022, the stock price increased, which points out that they paid out some debt. So maybe they sold some assets, maybe they borrowed some money, additional cash from outside. And also we can see on the chart that till 2017 there were dividends paid. But starting from that time, the dividends maybe were reinvested, I assume, or maybe this money went for debt repayment. So if we go on the particular documents by the company, especially fourth quarter results of 2021, we can see that the company is growing. So 10% increase in net sales, increasing of 69 million in operating income, and adjusted EBITDA increased by 48 million. So here is the snapshot of my company analysis. I do not claim that it is 100% right, it is just my own experience. So now you know more about where to get the company information and how to use it. Hope this video was useful for you and will help you in your future analysis. As always, please subscribe to the channel to see more great videos about personal finance and investing. Thank you for watching. Bye.